Ladies and gentlemen, after days of relentless rainfall and surging floodwaters, residents across provinces like Guizhou, Hubei, Hunan, and even the outskirts of Beijing are finally witnessing the water recede. But instead of relief, what they're met with is another kind of nightmare filled with destruction, thick mud, and the overwhelming stench of death in the air. Roads that were once bustling with life are now nothing more than endless streaks of thick, sticky sludge. Every step is hesitant, heavy, because beneath that layer of mud lies the wreckage left behind by disaster. Bloated carcasses of livestock, floating debris, shattered wooden beams, refrigerator doors, broken TVs, and warped planks of wood you can barely recognize as part of a home. The air is thick, with the smell of rotting garbage, decaying animal flesh, and damp, putrid earth that had been submerged for days. In the middle of this muddy chaos, people found money. Wrinkled, filthy Chinese yuan note sums still bearing the intact face of Mao Zedong were scattered across the ground. Locals gently rinsed the mud off those bills, not because of their value, but because it was all they had. Left after the flood had swept away their homes, their livestock, their clothes, and a lifetime of savings. And as the waters pulled back, the mud began to reveal something even more haunting, things no one wanted to find. These were not just broken chairs or collapsed doors. These were bodies, buried under layers of cold, sticky earth. In one tragic discovery, a person was found still clutching their child tightly, their eyes peacefully shut, as if they never realized they'd been swept away forever. In a field near a dam in Hunan, 3 lifeless bodies were found lying side by side, right at the edge of a rice field that used to be lush and green. They belonged to the same family. It was a heartbreaking sight. Their bodies were covered in mud. The flood had receded, but the pain remained buried in the soil and stamped into the layers of earth that now held the lifeless forms of those who once lived, once dreamed, and once loved. In the rural villages of Guizhou, where communities had been completely cut off for days, people returned in silence. Red-tiled homes had collapsed into nothing but crooked walls and broken bricks. Cracks split across faded walls, the floor tiles peeled away, and water stains climbed all the way to the ceilings. In knee-deep mud, they sifted slowly, trying to salvage anything that remained, in a landscape stripped of color, stripped of hope.
贵州榕江洪水退去后的第一现场，看到眼前这一幕，内心的心情真的是特别的难受。现场一片狼藉，这个画面真的是看哭了很多人呐。受灾之后，目前重建工作在这里有序的进行之中，期待榕江人民的生活尽早恢复正常。
In a small town in Hubei, more than 30 families were forced to set up makeshift tents on an open patch of land after their entire neighborhood had been destroyed by the flood. Every tent held its own story. Some people had lost their entire families, others had escaped with nothing but the clothes on their backs. Children no longer had schools, and adults had no livelihood to return to. Farmlands were buried under thick layers of mud, rice crops had rotted in the water, and the harvest was gone. When night fell, there were no lights, only darkness, filled with the sounds of insects and wind blowing through sheets of tarp tied to bamboo poles. Groups of people, holding buckets, basins, and iron shovels, began a task no one had ever wished for: pushing the mud out of their homes. The sludge, half a meter deep, covered every inch of the floor, clung to the walls, and wedged itself into every door frame and kitchen corner. There were no complaints, no waiting. Neighbors called on each other. Young people shoveled, the elderly scrubbed. Each home was a tiny battlefield, and this battle began with the will of the people. Across many provinces, the military was urgently deployed, bringing in water pumps, shovels, and specialized vehicles to help with the cleanup. They didn't just clear debris, they brought with them a sense of safety, a reminder that no matter how brutal nature could be, there was always a hand reaching out in times of crisis. Strangers who had never met joined forces, wave after wave, pushing mud not just out of houses but out of their memories, as if trying to erase the weight of what had happened. One man said, "My house is gone, but I'll help clean the neighbors first. Then, I'll worry about mine." A simple sentence, yet it moved like a quiet lifeline flowing through the heart of devastation. Amid the devastation, a short video suddenly surfaced, sending shockwaves across Chinese social media. Reportedly filmed near a coastal military facility, the 45-second clip captured a massive object believed to be a Chinese Navy training submarine being swept away by floodwaters right out of its dock during a violent storm in the middle of the night. Just minutes after it was posted, the video was deleted. The user who uploaded it vanished without a trace. But in that brief moment, several people managed to save and share it widely, sparking a firestorm of debate across online forums. No one could believe a submarine, a symbol of military strength, rendered helpless by nothing more than nature's wild fury. We can't stop the floods, but we can rise after them. No one can erase what has been lost. But even in the deepest mud, life begins to grow again, with compassion, with solidarity, and with unshakable resilience. Because in the end, the greatest strength doesn't lie in levees or dams, but in the human heart, though broken, it keeps beating for one another.
意思比较窄，大型设备根本就进不来，全部是我们的官兵用手都一点一点的抠。